How much would you say is left undeveloped, those big, huge shells of industry?
I would say you probably have about 1/3 vacant lots and parking lots. You have another, at least third, buildings that are from the 1930s or before.
Condemned
old, I wouldn't even call them condemned. All the spaces are pretty much used. There are very few spaces that have nothing in them. You'd be surprised what's in there. There's dance studios, there's all sorts of, there's breweries, there's lots of stuff that manages to find a way because of the low land values and the low rents.
A lot of small industry kind of thing that are burgeoning kind of thing.
Puis là, ben, comme qu'ils disent, ils sont capables de bâtir des condos, des affaires comme ça. Puis les magasins, ben, il y a moins de magasins qu'avant. Tu sais, les magasins, ça disparaît.
Ouais, les magasins style General
Ben ouais, avant, à Star, c'est les dollar stores, c'est les banques. Qu'est-ce qu'il y a pour ça? Des restaurants.
Saint-Charles. Ah oui, vous êtes nouveau ici ou quoi?
Non, c'est juste... Oh non, je suis pas nouveau. Moi, madame, je venais jouer ici, j'avais 7, 8, 9, 10 ans.
Ah, ok.
J'en ai 70 aujourd'hui. Ça fait,
félicitations, bon anniversaire!
Un an ou deux, là. Non, on voulait savoir, est-ce que ça fait longtemps que vous êtes ici?
Oui, le magasin il est ouvert 4 ans.
4 ans.
Oui, depuis 2 ans et demi que j'habite ici. Avant, j'habitais à West Island.
OK.
J'adore les quartiers, vraiment, j'adore. J'habite la rue Rochebrook.
Ah.
Oui, c'est ça, mais j'aime bien là. Les clientèle très sympa, vraiment. Ouais, il y a beaucoup de personnes qui reviennent là, ici comme vous.
Well, you have the St. Lawrence Seaway, which is built in the 1950s. So once the St. Lawrence Seaway is built, you don't have a necessity for all the ships to go through the Lachine Canal, even the transit ones. So at that point, then all those ships are going through the seaway. On the canal, you still have a lot of industries that really like the fact that they can be in an urban environment, but also have shipping right next to you. You can just park your boat up and dump whatever you have in and out. But that basically stopped in the 1960s, and I forget when the last boat is. There's actually someone who did a really nice job of documenting the last boat to pass through the canal, and I believe that was probably late 60s.
Late 60s, and then it kind of wound down after that.
Well, after that, there were no more boats going through.
Nothing.
And it just stagnated until the feds came and said, okay, let's make a linear park here. Mm-hmm. And then that's been, it's been getting better and better. I know in my lifetime anyways, when I was younger and we used to bike it, it looked pretty sketchy, and it looks more organized. In Point St. Charles, there are a lot of places that are sort of new or redeveloping or sort of being brought up to sort of not a gentrified code or whatever. I don't know how you would say it, but that are sort of that look clean, nice family spaces. Mm-hmm. They've been renewed. So there are places like that in Point St. Charles. There are some fix-me-ups, so some people might take a fix-me-up kind of place. There's very residential streets where you have long, narrow streets of sort of single-family houses. Some of them are sort of narrow, some of them might be double and whatever. But those are spaces you can put a family in. And otherwise, you can go to Verdun and further west, where you start getting into more duplex country and things like that.
And even today, I will go back and drive in front of the house. Naturally, it's so changed now. It's like Point St. Charles. Now, Point St. Charles, you don't have the same people there now, because they've built condominiums. They've more or less destroyed whole streets to rebuild, but Mullen Street is still the same,
How so?
The brick houses are still there, and with no front entrances, I can still picture, once in a while too. As a matter of fact, my sister's 25th wedding anniversary was right in front in a building to where we used to go and live or play, on Mullen Street. So it was great times to say we walked to the house less in our memories at that time. And, you know, that's still there. But other places or other streets where the houses were more or less falling apart, they've taken them down and rebuilt completely new. So it's not quite the same, but Mullen Street where we hung out is still Mullen Street.
Charles, you have, I would say, even less, they benefited even less, let's say, from the Cité du Multimédia than we have here.
Is there more potential for the change because there's less of it?
In Griffintown, you mean? Or?
Yeah, in Pointe St. Charles or Griffintown, but neither.
Yeah. Well, let's say you have a lot of potential because you have, for instance, in Pointe St. Charles, you have a lot of space where you could welcome new residents, right? A lot of new developments that you could make, or recycling old developments. So you could attract many people to live and work close by to the downtown core in all these neighborhoods. One of the problems that comes up, though, is for young professionals who are single or in a couple, it's quite easy to find spaces. However, most people end up unfortunately going off island, and that's one of the big tragedies here. Is even though now we're welcoming all these young professionals, right, like myself included. If I decide tomorrow to go and have 3 kids, I can't live in this space. And
It's not the ideal place to raise a family,
exactly,
right?
And unless I, have kids with someone who's incredibly wealthy, right, it's very unlikely I'm going to find something that has 2 or 3 bedrooms for any kind of reasonable price. So
the changing demographic in that sense is like the people aren't necessarily changing ethnicity-wise, but age and where they are in life, basically. Because, like you said, a family of, say, 5, in the 50s, one of those Irish or Italian or French families, it's
they're not going to
almost,
come here.
yeah, exactly.
You're not going to be able to come here.